Good evening, everybody. We are about to start our first session. So, joining us today is my colleague Sophia Solomon. She will talk about Newfoundland and Labrador's immigration pathways. So, I'll hand the microphone over to Sophia and welcome.
Thank you so much, Usmar. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm just going to share my screen and start off the presentation. Can everyone see my presentation? Just want to check. And is everybody able to hear me clearly? If you can just type in the chat box, and Ismar, if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be great. Perfect. All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Sophia Solomon, and I'm welcoming you on behalf of the Newfoundland and Labrador Office of Immigration and Multiculturalism to our webinar, Welcome Home to Newfoundland and Labrador. Our presentation will be followed by a question and answer session where you will have the opportunity to ask us questions about immigration. The only answers we cannot provide are those that specifically relate to applications currently in our office. So a bit of overview of what we'll be talking about today. We're so happy that you are able to join us and we can share some opportunities with you in our beautiful province. So let's start with some brief information. Where is Newfoundland and Labrador? Who lives here? What to expect when you decide to make our province your new home. We will showcase some of the best parts about living in Newfoundland and Labrador, including our rich history, ever-increasing diversity, what it's actually like to live here, and then follow up with information about immigrating here and focusing on a few in-demand jobs. First up, let's watch this great video.
Hey, Sophia, if could you share your video again with the audio? I think the audio is not coming through.
Okay, let me try that again.
When you click on share screen, it gives you the option of sharing with the audio.
Okay, we'll do that again. Sorry, folks. Perfect. So that was a little bit about our province, but we're going to go in deeper now into learning what our province really is all about. So the sun rises here in North America on the most easterly point on the continent. This place is home to the oldest European settlement and one of the oldest cities in North America, but has been a province of Canada for 65 years. We're closer to Europe than Calgary or Vancouver, and having our own time zone is just one example of the off-kilter nature of this place. With 17,000 kilometers of coastline, there are many bays and inlets to explore and plenty of opportunities for open ocean research and development. Our province has the lowest commute times in Canada, with less traffic, meaning more valuable time spent with family and friends. Newfoundland and Labrador, we do have an average summer temperature of 16 degrees, whereas the winter hovers over 0 degrees, with a few periods of snowfall. However, compared to Toronto, which does have an average temperature of minus 20 degrees, we are warmer during the winter. St. John's is the capital city of Newfoundland. Rich and colorful, rugged and refined, it's the creative capital and the beating cultural heart of the province. Woven into our history and tradition is a new wave of art, architecture, music, cuisine, all waiting for you to discover. Newfoundland and Labrador has an area of 405,720 square kilometers. It is more than 3 times the total area of the Maritime provinces, which is Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI together, and we're almost 1 3/4 times the size of Great Britain. So how do you get here? Traveling here by plane is a popular option. Flying time to St. John's is about 1.5 hours from Halifax, 3.5 hours from Toronto, and about 5 hours from London. Newfoundland and Labrador is served by scheduled airlines and charter services and can be reached via national and international connections like Air Canada, WestJet, Porter that fly here daily. Drawn from the Canadian Social Survey, which collects data every 3 months from people 15 and older on health, well-being, the impacts of COVID-19 activities, use of time, and emergency preparedness. The figure shows that 61.7% of people in Newfoundland and Labrador reported a high life satisfaction, above the Canadian average of 51.7%. So Newfoundland and Labrador has been known as the happiest province in Canada by Statistics Canada 2022. Life in Newfoundland and Labrador. Newfoundland and Labrador has a reputation of being very friendly. You will definitely hear a lot of people say that about us, which is very true. This is a land of rich history and natural wonders, stunning coastlines, breaching whales, icebergs, and some of the most incredible skyscrapers you'll ever see. With local cuisines and chefs winning national and international awards, it's clear that the culture and food diversity in Newfoundland and Labrador has never been more delicious and is always growing. With the temperate climate, Newfoundland and Labrador is the perfect place to enjoy outdoor activities like hiking, kayaking in the late spring, summer, and fall, as well as sports like snowboarding, skiing, and snowmobiling in the winter. Community and services. Newfoundland and Labrador has the most affordable post-secondary institution, which is the Memorial University of Newfoundland and Labrador. We also have the College of North Atlantic, which is another college which has 17 campuses all across Newfoundland and Labrador. Memorial University has 19,000 students from Newfoundland and Labrador, as well as international students from 115 countries. The Association for New Canadians is a nonprofit, community-based organization delivering settlement and integration services to immigrants and refugees in Newfoundland and Labrador. For more than 40 years, the association has delivered programs and services that support all aspects of immigration integration, ranging from settlement information and orientation to language learning, skills development, and employment. The association communication Francophone de St. John's is a nonprofit organization that offers a wide variety of activities and services for all interests and budgets. Most of our activities take place at the Francophone Community Center. It is the Francophone settlement organization currently based in Newfoundland and Labrador. The Newfoundland and Labrador Medical Care Plan, known as MCP, is publicly administered comprehensive plan of medical insurance which was introduced in April 1st of 1969. MCP covers the cost of insured physician services for residents of the province who have met eligibility criteria to register as MCP beneficiaries. MCP beneficiaries are also entitled to coverage of insured medical services received in hospital under the hospital insurance plan. This is, of course, free of cost for all residents in Newfoundland and Labrador. Residents of Newfoundland and Labrador also benefit from up to 12 to 18 months of parental leave for your newborn or newly adopted children at a rate of 55% of your earnings, compared to the United States, which only receives up to 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave. We also use English and French as language instruction in school and throughout the province. We have the most affordable childcare, which is about $10 a day or $7.48 USD. There are many community groups, cultural organizations, diverse food and religions, institutions in the province that is continuously growing. Housing is a big priority for our government as it works to increase availability and affordability. Though we focus here on St. John's, which is our capital, rates across the province are generally much lower as you move to urban and even rural areas, while availability increases. As you can see, the average cost to purchase a home is significantly lower than other cities in Canada. This is something we would like to highlight for you today as Newfoundland and Labrador as a destination of choice for new migrants. As you can see, the average cost of a 2-bedroom apartment is $1,100, whereas a 3-bedroom costs approximately $2,100. Utilities are not often included in the rent, which we will explain a little bit later. And according to Newfoundland and Labrador, as you can see, the average home in St. John's is about $304,000. However, compared to Halifax, which is $529,000 and $1.16 million in Toronto. So we definitely have the most affordable housing. Transportation in St. John's. You can purchase a monthly bus pass for about $78 or a single fare of $2.50. Otherwise, an option for transit is through taxis in the capital city, as well as smaller cities throughout the province. It is usually recommended that you plan to purchase a car, as this will make your navigation through St. John's easier, but we wish to provide some approximate costs for owning a car so you are well prepared. Most newcomers will need to pass their driving test unless from a country that have a driver's license from United States, Germany, Australia, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Republic of Korea, Ukraine, France, Isle of Man Island, Northern Ireland, Japan, and Taiwan. So a driver's license fee costs approximately $125 Canadian. A road test is about $78. Annual car registration is about $90. And a car insurance depends on how much time you've been in Canada, so it does reduce every year once you are driving and start driving in the province and in the country. An approximate amount for used cars is about $10,000 Canadian, and new cars cost approximately $20,000, which of course you can take as a loan and with monthly EMIs. Car insurance from newcomers from countries without a reciprocal agreement is often priced as they are a new driver, but also depends on your insurance broker. So comparing the numbers, we want to give you a good idea of what it would look like if you were living and working here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It is good news that by next month, the minimum wage will be increasing to $15 Canadian. Full-time work is about 35 to 40 hours per week. If you work 40 hours a week for a minimum wage, you will receive $600 every week. Included in your taxes is employment insurance in case you lose your job, Canada Pension Plan, which is a retirement support, income tax, which is support for government services, like we talked about, free healthcare, free education during your school. So these deductions will be taken from your paycheck every week or bi-weekly, depending on your employer. So make sure you do your research and compare the salary in your job to the cost of living in Newfoundland and Labrador. Later in our presentation, we will provide some average salaries for in-demand jobs in fields such as healthcare, early childhood education, and IT. We also encourage you to do research between approximate salaries compared to the cost of living in Newfoundland and Labrador. While other provinces may have higher minimum income, this is because they also have a higher cost of living. So we would just want to give you an example to compare the average cost of living in Newfoundland and Labrador with a real life example of what it would look like if you moved to Newfoundland and you got a job, how much you would make, how much you would save, and how much would go in different expenses. So here we have Young Guy, who has a full-time job as an early childhood educator in St. John's. With 2 years of experience and her new ECE certificate, which is the Early Childhood Certificate for Newfoundland and Labrador, she will earn a wage of $25 per hour. Along with her spouse, she will expect to pay approximately $1,100 a month on her apartment rental fee, and an additional $400 per month on utilities, which is electricity, internet, cable, etc. Upon arrival to Newfoundland Labrador, Young Guy's spouse will work as a restaurant manager. As a full-time employee, ECE, Young Guy will work 37.5 hours per week and earn approximately $937.50 before taxes. Her annual salary of $48,750 means at a tax rate of 14.5%, she will pay $135.95 per week in taxes. As a restaurant manager, Young Guy's spouse will work 40 hours per week at a minimum rate of $15 per hour and earn approximately $600 before taxes. So if we break that down with a monthly income, you're looking at $3,206 for Young Guy and $1,564 for Young Guy's spouse after taxes. So when we say after taxes, that means after all the deductions are taken out, like we mentioned on the previous slide, for employment insurance, for your pension plan, things like that. So this is how much you would get in your pocket. So when we deduct apartment rental of $1,100, utilities, which is electricity bills, internet bills, cable for heat and light, things like that would fall under utilities. Some apartments you will see are advertised as without utilities or pay your own utilities, which means it's not included in the rental fee itself, which is why we've separated it here, because sometimes you will see that. But if you're renting a room, for example, sometimes utilities are included in your rental fee. So it's a good idea to keep an eye out for that when you're looking for apartments to rent. So if you're looking to buy for groceries for 2 people, you're looking at $450 per month, and car insurance of approximately $97 per month for 1 driver. So if we add all of this up and minus it from your monthly income for 2 people, you are saving about $2,723 a month that you get to do anything that you like with, compared to other provinces that have higher rental fees and higher expenses. With Newfoundland and Labrador, you get to save a lot of that money. So we're going to go into the immigration programs that we offer here in Newfoundland and Labrador. This is a quick summary of the broad steps to immigrate to Newfoundland and Labrador. First, an employer must have a full-time year-round job vacancy and make an offer to a foreign worker, such as yourself. The employer must also register with the federal government's employer portal and be willing to pay a $230 fee to support a worker's work permit application if needed. Once a worker receives a job offer, they apply for either the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Nominee Program or the Atlantic Immigration Program. Criteria for each program differ, which we will review shortly, but our average processing times under both programs is 25 business days for our office. Once approved under the NLP&P for nomination or AIP for endorsement, you can then apply to the federal government for a work permit and permanent residency. Processing times for work permit and permanent residency differ with the federal government and can be found on the federal government's website. With work permit approval and visa approval if necessary, you can travel to Newfoundland and Labrador and begin working while your PR application is still in process. The Office of Immigration and Multiculturalism offers 2 economic immigration programs that facilitate a path to permanent residency for individuals who have full-time, non-seasonal, or job offer from a Newfoundland and Labrador employer or own a business. Both programs offer various streams: the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Nominee Program and the Atlantic Immigration Program. The NLP&P has a few categories to choose from, whereas the AIP depends on both the candidate's job offer and work experience. So as you can see under the NLP&P, we have the Express Entry Skilled Worker, International Graduate, International Entrepreneur, and International Graduate Entrepreneur. The Office of Immigration also offers the Newfoundland and Labrador Settlement and Integration Program that is designed to make settlement and integration for new immigrants smooth through support to service providers in the province. The AIP, as you can see, is based on a tier system. It starts from tier 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will talk a little bit more about this, but you can also find more information on what the tier levels mean on our website. So program eligibility is based on the tier level of your job offer. Firstly, we'll speak about the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Nominee Program. The objective is for foreign nationals to obtain a work permit and permanent residency, as well as a pathway for foreign nationals to settle permanently in all regions in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's used to attract entrepreneurs and support entrepreneurs already established in Newfoundland and Labrador, also attract skilled professionals in identified in-demand occupations. Key eligibility looks like candidate must have a full-time minimum 30 hours weekly, year-round, at least a 2-year job offer. Demonstrate to economically establish in the province, intend to reside in Newfoundland and Labrador permanently, provide valid language results depending on the program that you apply through. Work experience, however, is not required for the skilled worker category, but you do need to meet the NOC or the tier requirements. You also need to meet category-specific eligibility criteria, which you can find on our website under the Newfoundland and Labrador Provincial Nominee Program. Next, we have the Atlantic Immigration Program. The Atlantic Immigration Program has been created to enhance joint coordination between the Atlantic provinces and the federal government. It is designed to help employers in the Atlantic provinces attract skilled workers and international graduates to permanently fill job vacancies. Employers must apply first and wait to have their employer to be approved as a designated employer. Employer engagement in settlement integration is higher than the provincial nominee program. The processing time is likely faster as well than the provincial nominee program. If you're already working in the province, you could qualify to become a permanent resident through this program. There is no labor market impact assessment, sometimes known as an LMIA, that is not required for this program. AIP is an expedited permanent residency pathway and has additional mandatory requirements that both the employer and candidate must meet. So key eligibility criteria: job offer must be full-time again, so minimum 30 hours weekly and for at least 1 year. It must be in a tier 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 occupation. As you can see, tier 5 does not qualify under the Atlantic Immigration Program. Candidate must intend to reside in Newfoundland and Labrador. Language testing is mandatory for all candidates, so you could either take an IELTS or a CELFIP test. If candidate does not have education completed in Canada, an education credential assessment is required for any education completed outside Canada. There is no age limit under the AIP. However, under the PNP, you do need to be between the age of 21 and 59. Next, we will highlight average salaries for in-demand occupations in the province. There are based on 40-hour work weeks. As you begin your job search, we encourage you to create a LinkedIn profile as a tool to help you make local connections and learn about job opportunities. For tech-related jobs, you may also find it useful to connect with TechNL, which is the Industry Association for Information and Community Technology Jobs. TechNL is present with us today during the fair, so feel free to check out their booth and visit their booth if you have any questions. They do also have a presentation following mine later today. Newfoundland and Labrador has one provincial health authority that covers 4 regions of the province called Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services. Each region has differing needs, but in particular, there is a great need for registered nurses and licensed practical nurses across the province. NLHS will have an employer booth set up for you to connect directly with during our fair today as well. And they do also have questions. If you have questions, you can also ask those questions during when you visit their booth. Early childhood educators and assistants have many vacancies in the province. This is a recent grid of the salaries and hourly rates of ECEs based on years of experience. The Newfoundland and Labrador Association for Early Childhood Educators, known as ACE-NL, can provide specific information on your eligibility. Early Childhood Educator Wage Grid, which is from the Department of Education. Newfoundland and Labrador Early Childhood Education Wage Grid is developed to support regulated child care centers in offering accessible and quality childcare by recognizing the valuable contributions of ECEs that make with children of the province. The Early Childhood Education Wage Grid aims to increase retention and recruitment of ECEs and increase interest for current and future ECEs to further their education and ultimately improve quality of care. The base rate for an ECE2 with a 2-year diploma is $25 an hour. This is the starting rate for a new graduate. Educators who continue to further their education and are awarded a higher certification level will be placed at a step 1 of their new level. For example, an ECE1 at step 2 who achieves an ECE2 designation would be placed at step 1 of level 2, which is $25.50. The steps on the grid last 12 months starting January 1st of 2023. ACE-NL also does have a booth today and are present with us today. So if you do have questions, please do visit their booth. They are also providing a presentation later after me, so feel free to attend their presentation for more information. Latest news on immigration. So immigration to the province has increased by 60% since 2017. Newfoundland and Labrador immigration targets were met for the first time last year in 2022, with double the spaces this year in 2023 and some remaining for the remainder of the year. NewFoundLand and Labrador adopted a client service-centered approach to all provincial immigration programs. So when you put an application through the AIP or the PNP, you will be assigned an officer who will work with you throughout the process and make sure they are holding your hand along the way. To connect with us, you can visit our website for a list of frequently asked questions. If you have any questions that you cannot find the answers on our website about our immigration programs, feel free to send us an email to attraction@gov.nl.ca. We're also present throughout the day. If you have any questions, there will be round tables. So feel free to meet with any of our immigration officers to answer any questions you have either about this presentation or anything in general about